We know Genghis Khan as a unifier of tribes. What we don't talk about is what happened after the arrows stopped and the cities fell. When the dust settled and the screams faded, the true nightmare unfolded. Not for the slain soldiers. Their agony ended swiftly. For the mothers, for the sisters, for every female survivor in a vanquished land. What Mongols did to them turned life into something far crueler than the grave. You think you know Mongol conquest? The histories barely hint at the depths. If you value documented Mongol and Genghis Khan era history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. This script is researched and factual using sources from historical chronicles, genetic studies, and accounts like The Secret History of the Mongols. Now, back to the story. 1206. Genghis unites the Mongol tribes into a formidable force, forging alliances through blood and strategy. His own life sets the pattern early. Rooted in the harsh realities of steppe feuds, his betrothed, Berta, abducted by the Merkit clan at age 17, held captive for months amid rival camps. Rescued in a daring raid that left villages in flames, but the shadow lingers eternally. She bears a child soon after Jochi, whose paternity whispers doubt across the clans, fueling whispers of illegitimacy. This wasn't unique or isolated. Abduction fueled feuds and power plays, but under Genghis, it became a calculated strategy to bind and break. Conquered tribes yielded women as tribute, not merely as spoils but as tools to weave loyalty, not as equals in the nomadic sense, but as assets to expand bloodlines. The Secret History of the Mongols records this plainly, detailing how such integrations masked deeper coercion. Women from defeated clans were integrated into harems. Their bloodlines claimed to strengthen the empire's genetic tapestry. But integration masked force, often brutal and public. Chronicles describe public humiliations to break spirits, stripping dignity in front of kin to ensure submission. In the Oirat subjugation, resistance crushed brutally under hoof and blade. 4,000 girls, barely teens, assaulted before kin to enforce submission and terror, then parceled out like livestock to loyal warriors, rewarded for their ferocity. This wasn't impulse or chaos, it was calculated dominance, a method to demoralize and assimilate. The Yassa code, Genghis's iron laws etched in the minds of his followers, formalized it with unyielding precision. Captives classified as booty, alongside horses and gold from sacked caravans. No voice for the taken, their fates sealed in the victor's decree, ownership declared publicly before comrades, disputes settled by duel or Khan's judgment. Children from these unions, legitimate heirs if the father willed it amid his vast progeny. Otherwise, discarded like flawed arrows. This led to infanticide patterns, unwanted proofs erased in the night. But here's what the epics won't tell you. Buried in the sands of forgotten chronicles, being claimed was the milder path, compared to the alternatives that awaited defiance. 1211. The Jin dynasty crumbles under Mongol assault, its golden walls breached. Northern China yields cities teeming with civilians, markets overflowing with silk and screams. Women sorted ruthlessly in the aftermath, divided like looted treasures. Beauty determined fate. Pristine ones reserved for commanders, their purity a prize. Others passed to ranks for immediate use. Persian accounts from later campaigns mirror this grim process, detailing how survivors were herded into makeshift camps. Assaults prolonged, systematic, leaving marks that archaeology now uncovers. Broken limbs from struggles against iron grips, ribs cracked in restraint during nights of terror. These weren't clashes of arms, these were dominations, slow ones, designed to break will before body. Carbon dating on remains from mass sites places deaths post-surrender, long after the banners fell. The women perished after yielding, after seizure in the chaos. After the Mongols pondered their worth amid the spoils, the verdict, often fatal, a cull of the deemed unworthy. 1219. Khwarezm falls in flames. its opulent cities reduced to ash and echoes. Shah's empire shattered under the relentless advance. Chroniclers note royal defeats and grand strategies. They gloss over the palace women, hidden in veiled accounts. But digs at ancient sites uncover the tale, piecing together fragments of horror, ground layers rich in iron traces, blood remnants soaked into the earth, enough for hordes, staining the soil for centuries. Mongol war ethos had edicts, unyielding and codified. A fallen fighter's spouse became victor's claim, a transfer of power, not laborer. Mate by right of conquest. The steppe term. Property with pulse, breathing wealth. 13th century edicts from Karakorum outline the rite in detail. Preserved in fragments, the Caesar proclaims before comrades. A ritual of possession, the female silent in this. Her protests drowned in the victor's roar. No option. No flight across the endless plains. The bond official under Yassa, offspring valid. Heirs to the empire's vast domains. The violation endorsed by decree, woven into the fabric of law. The Yassa specifies windows for claims. Assertion within days of taking. To prevent disputes. Beyond, rivals contest. Turning women into prizes in internal feuds. This sparked brawls over females like herd beasts at trade, bloody skirmishes amid the camps, but compelled union paled beside graver dooms, lurking in the shadows of victory. 1220. Bamiyan Valley resists fiercely, its Buddhist statues silent witnesses, a kin of Genghis slain in the fray, igniting wrath. Retaliation absolute, the valley scoured clean. Nomad rites called for offerings to appease the eternal sky. When a Khan passed, belongings joined him. Steeds for the afterlife ride. Blades for eternal battle. Females to serve beyond. Travelers like Plano Carpini saw this on the Volga banks, amid the vast Russian steppes. He notes the ceremonial violation and slaying of a thrall at her lord's pyre, a spectacle of fire and blood. Single observer, one tale etched in Latin, but digs a firm ubiquity across the empire. Skeletal exams from steppe tombs reveal marks of ritual. Female frames in Khan burials bear strangling scars, cords tight around necks, residues in enamel hint poisons prior. Herbal concoctions to dull resistance, rendered docile before the end. The dispatch precise, methodical as a hunt. Toxins from herbs like belladonna, traces in grave goods amid jewelry and bones, alkaloids inducing visions and yielding, blurring reality. The females met ends in delirium, hallucinations of spirits or ancestors. Maybe kindness in the haze, maybe torment amplified, a final cruelty. 1221. Armies winter at Nishapur. The cold biting as fiercely as their blades. Records log standard plunder. Herds seized from pastures. Temples razed to foundations. They omit camp happenings in the frozen nights. Retainer zones shrouded in secrecy. But we have the middens, ancient refuse mounds like time capsules. Refuse mounds disclose all. Layers of discarded lives. Newborn remains unearthed. Scores buried shallow. All bearing intentional harm signs, deliberate and cold. These no stillborns lost to nature. These slayings, calculated erasures, progeny of compelled bonds between Mongol riders and seized females from distant lands. Undesired proof of organized violation. Threats to pure lineages. Dispatch ways efficient, honed like arrows. Skull impacts from stones or clubs. Swift, neat, leaving minimal mess. Remains indicate routine practice across campaigns. This no passion fury or momentary rage. This protocol, embedded in the empire's expansion. Nomad decree clear on hybrid offspring, as per Yassa fragments. If bearer thrall, young thrall to labor. If bearer asset, young asset to inherit. If young, unproductive or burdensome, young perished without ceremony. Basic calculus of survival on the steppes. Yuan annals note this enduring into later reigns. A legacy of control. Whole districts in Persia display demographic voids, where females expected in records. Voids align precisely with known Mongol holds. Empty echoes. Link, not coincidence, sends unearthing remains from the earth. Mass pits near Samarkand narrate the silent toll. Mongol vanguard's seasonal base, 1,219 1,220. A hub of conquest. Hundreds of frames in ordered vaults, buried with care or haste. Mere fraction female. Ratios unnaturally skewed. Proportions skewed unnaturally. Females vanish not without trace, unless relocated across vast distances. Isotope scans of female relics unveil facts from bone chemistry. These no natives of the local soil. Hailed from Tangut kingdoms, Jurchen strongholds, Uyghur oases, seized zones far and wide, hauled as freight over mountains. Buried ones fortunate in a grim sense, succumb to ailment from the march or birthing in chains. Organic ends, natural amid the unnatural. Ill-fated ones dissolved into bondage webs, invisible threads of empire. Mongol epoch spanned continents. Karakorum no mere hub of tents, it processed human trade like a vast market. Caravans docked routine with new stock from frontiers. Females categorized by years and state, assessed like horses. Youths to steppe clans as stock breeders for future warriors. Elders to Abbasid bazaars via silk paths winding through deserts. Tree ring dates on Karakorum docks indicate steady growth. 1,207, 1,260. Expansions mirroring conquests. Half-century swell in infrastructure. Bondage commerce flourished amid the boom. Each fresh dock amplified volume, more flesh freight crossing borders. Depots housed hundreds in squalor. Base stones bear runoff grooves, not precipitation channels. For mortal refuse and waste, these no brief pens for transients. These enduring vaults, prisons of despair. 13th century Chinese texts depict Mongol thrall trains hitting Kaifeng markets. Females fetched high in southern marts, prized for exotic traits. Pale-skinned Jurchen and Korean exotic prizes in distant courts. Mongols mastered demand, supplied streamlined with efficiency. If you value documented Mongol and Genghis Khan era history like this, subscribe. It's the best way to support our work. Also, comment from which city you're hearing this from. Now, back to the story. The southern trail snaked through Gobi and Tarim basins, 1,000-league trek along Huanghe rivers, fraught with perils. Caravan ledgers in script tally human loads beside silks and jade treasures. Dozens per cart, chained in the heat. Norm quota for efficiency. But direst doom, no bondage in distant lands. No compelled bond in harems. No offering right to the spirits. It befell females who defied with fierce resistance. 1,223. Tangut reclaimed Shisha from nomads after bitter sieges. Annals depict freedom won in blood. They skip fines in death fields beyond walls, hidden horrors. Fresh digs at locales expose torment trenches. Rock-lined voids crafted for lingered demise in isolation. Frames within bear distinct harm marks, deliberate and varied. Limbs shattered to bar flee across the wastes. Arms snap to halt self-end in despair. These females sustained while fading slowly. Trenches gauged precise 2 meters deep by 1 wide, engineered for torment. Too tight for recline or comfort, too low for upright stance. Sufferers expired hunched over spans, at times moons under the merciless Sunday. Yassa depicts penalty for thrall, harming overlord, a code of retribution. Interment vital, yet not swift or merciful. Trench airy enough for breath to prolong, profound for no egress. Sufferer faded from parch or chill in the nights. At times moons, a slow unraveling. Dig-proof affirms no theory, but grim reality. Ground scans from Shishia trenches display stretched rot spans, evidence of prolonged suffering. These females faded gradual by intent, a lesson etched in earth. Penalty varied to fit the crime. Some trenches held jagged rocks for added pain. Others pooled liquid to drown slowly. Aim no mere end. It anguish displayed anguish for deterrence. Fellow bonds observed from afar. They absorbed the lesson deeply. 1227. Genghis perishes. Successors consolidate amid power struggles. Internal strife halts expansion briefly, but bondage webs endure across the vast domains. Tranquility halted no trade in human lives. It industrialized further, with routes optimized. Fixed lanes meant timetables precise, assured stock from distant fronts. Nomad dealers pledged arrival for flesh wares. Contracts sealed. This surfaces in song pacts from the era, standard trade clauses for souls amid silks. The Yuan Song Accord of 1,235 catalogs thrall tariffs by class and condition. Youth females premium for their potential, with child discounted due to risks. Underage near valueless in markets. Bazaar refined, sophisticated as any spice trade. 1,241. Final grand thrust into eastern realms ends at Mohi battlefields. Coalitions shatter horde advance with desperate unity. They triumph firm against the tide. What they uncover in Mongol supply lines alters medieval combat views forever. Mobile holding rigs unearthed in camps. Metal scaffolds to confine flesh en route over lands. Links fitted for youths, small and cruel. Roaming trade hubs, trailing forces, like shadows. Conflict, no mere land grab or glory. It harvests mortals systematically. Rigs modular for versatility. Formed vast enclosures for extended hold in sieges. Dismantled for swift shift across rivers. Craft elegant. Adept in design. Appalling in purpose. Each rig contained dozen grown or score young, packed tight. Metal loops in timber frames anchored bonds securely. Abrasion marks indicate ceaseless employ over campaigns. This no sporadic savagery or whim, this continual venture, a pillar of empire. Females of toppled fighters, no war fallout or accident. They target prime, vital assets to gather, refine like ore, disperse to loyalists. Nomad economy thrived on compelled toil from dawn to dusk. Female compelled toil precisely, in camps and courts. Surveys of noted Mongol holds display uniform traits across continents. Every key outpost had containment units hidden. Every depot had sorting hubs for assessment. Framework ubiquitous, veiled obvious amid the tents. 1,258. Hulagu sacks Baghdad in a storm of fire. Last Abbasid hold crumbles under siege engines. But bondage webs linger in the aftermath. Islamic realms absorb framework from the conquerors. They dismantle the chains. They relabel as custom. Mosque logs show bonded laborers surging post-Mongol routes and retreats. These no willing pacts or volunteers. These rebadged thralls. Identities erased. Females seized by hordes now serving caliph lords in palaces. Labels shifted to fit new rulers. Essence unchanged. Suffering the same. 1,260. Kublai ascends in China, shifting the empire's heart. Mongol era wanes in west amid fractures. But digs from era paint bleaker scenes. Mass pits crammed with females bear end dates aligning horde falls precisely. When nomad might crumbled under counterattacks, proofs vanished into the earth. Witnesses silenced forever. But here's the detail that changes everything. Unearthed recently. Fresh digs at Beijing unearthed novel horrors. A mass vault sealed in 1,280 holds, remnants of hundreds. All female, all bearing organized dispatch signs from blades or poison. But isotope scans reveal they know captives from afar. They Mongol kin. Blood of the steppes. Vault dates to era, when horde grip in China slipped under rebellions. Han pushes reversed the tide. Steppe outposts tumbled one by one. These females, no war prizes or spoils. They hordes own mates and offspring slain to bar seizure by enemies. Dispatch modes echoed those on seized. A mirror of cruelty. Skull blows from trusted hands, throttling in the dark. Toxins slipped in meals. Hordes turned own methods on bloodkin. They grasped what befell, seized females in defeat. Ground probes from burial locale show slaying spanned days of planning. This no frenzy or panic. This orchestrated purge, methodical as a siege. Sires slaying offspring to protect. Mates slaying partners to shield from horrors they knew too well. Annals omitted this dark chapter. Legends mute on the internal bloodletting, but remains truthful and unyielding. When hordes met rout, they erased own females over letting them endure inflicted torments. They grasped precisely what awaited seized mates in the hands of victors. The Beijing vault held one last mark of despair, a lone script etched into bone with a blade. Few words in old script, faded but clear. Prefer thus over the alternative. Someone paused amid mass dispatch to etch rationale. A final justification. Even in slay, they required righteousness to ease the guilt. Bone from youth 1214, fragile and small. Isotope shows born in steppe vastness, hauled to realms young for alliances. Slain by kin to bar seizure and shame. Etch, post-end. A macabre message. Someone wished her comprehend the mercy in murder. But organized Mongol carnal brutality transcended lone thrusts into enemy lands. It woven in decree system, codified for eternity. Yassa details exact rights for seizing females, a blueprint of possession. Caesar must proclaim open before witnesses, trio observers least to validate. Female defiance moot under edict, irrelevant as wind. If she ended self to flee the chains, Caesar claimed recompense from kin or clan. Self-end theft of asset. A crime against property. Rate 40 silver units or equivalent over most earned yearly in toil. 1,234. Ogedei reigns after his father's shadow. His initial edict tackles horde thrall trade, not halt the flow, levy it for the treasury. Imperial tolls from Kaifeng show organized dues on flesh freight. Bureaucratic precision, 5 units per female assessed. 2 per young valued low. Han, no appalled by horde ways in full. They envied horde gains and adopted subtly. Overland archaeology unveils trade breadth across Asia. Wrecked caravans along silk contain custom holds for endurance. Air systems for mortal haul in heat. Fluid stores for moons trek through deserts. These no makeshift thrall carts cobbled, they crafted purpose-built for efficiency. Largest found rig could haul 80 in belly, crammed. Wood scans date to 1,220 era. Char marks show burned en route, perhaps sabotage. All cargo gone in flames. 80 females perished bound in depths, a fiery end. But some females forged defiance paths annals overlook in their male-focused tales. 1,230. A figure named Alakai surfaces in Jurchen logs from the north, portrayed as liberated horde thrall who spearheaded strikes on Mongol camps with cunning. She grasped their ploys, flaws, dreads intimately. Alakai's campaign spanned years of guerrilla warfare. Jurchen texts attribute her with razing dozen horde sites and liberating hundreds from chains. She wielded horde tactics against them, turning the hunters hunted. Ambush strikes in the dawn. No spares taken. No pity shown to captors. Her ultimate strike aimed Thrall Bazaar at Xanadu, the Khan's pleasure city. Era accounts depict organized dispatch of every horde dealer in Berg. A reckoning. Scores felled without mercy. Mode ever same. Mutilation prior to instill fear. Then drain slow. Alakai fades from logs post-decade. Perhaps fallen or vanished. But digs at prior horde locales along yellow show scorched strata from era. Fires of revenge. Someone stalked hordes relentlessly. Someone versed in wounding them deeply. Practice of seizing toppled females spread past steppes into conquered realms. Yuan texts from 13th century depict akin rights in subdued China. Kublai's riders granted domains, including all movables therein, vast estates. Movables encompassed females as listed. Yuan census logs this methodical in ink. Estate lists tally beasts from pastures, stores of grain, and female wards in identical groups for taxation. Asset valuations deemed females, farm tools prized, yet expendable if worn. Dig evidence from Yuan forts unveils needed framework for control. Fort yards held cells, crafted for females, segregated. Rock barriers high, metal portals locked, no vents for light. Some contained dozens packed. Bone scans from fort dumps show newborn death rates near total. A chilling statistic. Progeny of compelled bonds endured brief lives. This, no oversight or accident. This directive from above, policy to erase evidence. Hybrid offspring, proof of violation, undeniable. Proof bred risk to stability. 1241. Batu invades Hungary with thunderous hordes. Europe quakes under Golden Horde advance, cities trembling. But Horde thrust mirrored prior patterns exactly in brutality. Organized seizure of Slavic females from villages. Compelled unions to Horde riders in camps. Decree frames that transmuted violation to bond under law. Era. Narrators termed it blending Rus lineage for strength. Contemporary terms dub it ethnic purge via carnal force. Systematic. Method akin to prior practice in Asia. Rationale differed. Adapted to new lands. Medieval pacts from era unveil calculus of power. Rus brides fetched high from Horde suitors, not affection or romance. For claim rights to soil. Violation became asset shift tool. Legal transfer. Female assent legally moot. Ignored. Shrine logs show defiance rising. Rus females opting end over union, choosing the grave. Cloisters swelled triple in decade post-Mohi defeat. Self-end spikes amid elite females. A wave of despair. Shrine deemed these sainted acts. Realm deemed asset ruin. A loss. But most eerie proof stems from DNA scans of current groups worldwide. Isotope probes of ancient yards reveal blend patterns, aligning historical violation drives precisely. Jurchen and Persian maternal DNA emerges in Mongol groups from 13th century on. A genetic map. Genetic path trails, trade lanes exactly, from steppe to seas. This no cultural swap or peaceful merge. This no willing shift of peoples. This vast-scale propagation schemes, using seized females as vessels. DNA affirms organized carnal force over eras, indelible. Current Mongol groups bear 50% foreign female lines from conquests. Central Asian show 30% Eastern maternal roots mixed. These figures embody thousands seized females across generations. Thousands compelled gestations in pain. Thousands young unknowing maternal true names or origins. Magnitude vast and staggering. Method exact. Repeated. Logs willfully razed to ash. But some proof endured raze through bones. Fresh digs at Xanadu uncovered prior unseen edifice hidden. Radiocarbon dates site build to 1210, early empire. Edifice held scores, lone chambers, a complex. Each chamber bore links fixed to rock for restraint. This no jail for criminals. This propagation site, engineered for purpose. Ground scans reveal steady use for decades, continuous. Bone shards imply hundreds cycled through chambers over time, all female. All bearing repeat gestation marks on pelvis. All discarded when unproductive or broken. Edifice, sat in hub of power. All new therein. Whispers in courts. Local shrines kept precise birth logs of site young. Meticulous, hundreds births recorded. Mere handful lived past infancy, survivors rare. Shrine logs tag these young as orphans of unknown line. Anonymized. They traded as laborers to elite families for favor. Gains funded shrine build and expansions. Divine labor funded by organized violation. A twisted economy. Medieval ledgers from Karakorum show routine pays to site runners, documented. No grafts hidden, no alms charitable. Pact pays for haven duties official. Shrine, no mere accomplice in shadows. Shrine commerce ally, profiting openly. This pattern echoed across horde domains from east to west. Every key hold had akin sites concealed. Every shrine kept akin logs for records. Every power gathered akin gains from the trade. Framework thorough and pervasive. Gains huge, sustaining wars. Anguish beyond grasp or measure. But most crushing unveil from fresh ground probe at Xanadu depths. Mass vault of horde females held beyond dispatch victims alone. Deeper strata reveal multiple interspans over half-century of rule. This no single slaughter event. This continual purge to maintain secrecy. Line after line of horde females erased to conceal proofs of atrocities. Chem scans of bone shards show intent toxin with arsenic mixes and herbs, not swift venoms for mercy. Gradual poisons inducing frenzy pre-end slowly. Females perished, deranged, incapable coherent recount of witnessed horrors. Even horde females outlasting force couldn't attest against the system. Toxin wrecked trust with lives, rendering them mad. Words from deranged bore no decree weight in courts. Ideal muting way, perfect silence. Xanadu locale keeps yielding proofs in ongoing digs. Fresh excavations uncovered young remains blended with grown females intimately. Parent-young dispatch duos, heartbreaking. Kin erased joint to bar any bearer's tales onward to future. Isotope reveals these no chance slays or random. Victims picked methodical on insight and roles. Females who aided as translators in conquests. Females who oversaw thrall sites daily. Females aware excess to endure if captured. Even in end, horde females voiceless utterly, choiceless in fate, escapeless from kin's blade. The Xanadu vault held one last mark of finality. A lone script etched into bone with care. Few words in old script. Thus better than the alternative fate. Someone paused amid mass dispatch to etch rationale. Perhaps a father's hand. Even in slay, they required righteousness to justify the act. They grasped precisely what awaited seized mates in enemy hands.